The Louie T Network is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to the Command Post Live. You know what it is. Training Camp Confidential Day number 8 was yesterday. Training Camp Day number 8 was yesterday, but I wasn't able to produce a video for you guys yesterday. So here we are today talking about what took place yesterday. Third fully padded practice of training camp practice number 8. Number of things to get to, some items to clean up from previous days as well. So I want to make sure that we tie all of those discussions into today's show, as well as we head into a big week, the first week of the preseason for the Burgundy and Gold. There will be a joint practice taking place with the New England Patriots this week ahead of their Saturday matchup, which should be a lot of fun. Looking forward to seeing this team compete. Is the game on Saturday? It's the 8th. I do know that. And the 8th is Friday. So ahead of their Friday contest, excuse me. So looking forward to the team competing in joint practices. I do not anticipate Jaden Daniels nor any of the first team offensive guys, maybe with the exception of like a Josh Conerly Jr., guys like that. Because again, technically he's not a part of the first team yet, but I expect Conerly Jr. to play in this preseason game and maybe a select few others. But for the most part, you're not going to see Ertz. You're not going to see Jaden. You're not going to, well, obviously you're not going to see Terry. You're not going to see Debo. You're not going to see Austin Eckler, Brian Robinson Jr. You're not going to see any of those guys more likely than not in this first preseason game. You won't see any of the veterans, Bobby Wagner, Frankie Louvu, Dorrance Armstrong, and practically the entire defense, I think, is going to be almost out of this game. You're going to see a lot of the backups and reserves. Again, any young guys that are out, Jalen Lane, you're going to see him on offense. Kane Madrano, you're going to see plenty of him, obviously. You're going to probably see some Jordan McGee, I believe. They want to get him some reps. But again, there are going to be a select few guys available in this game, but it's going to be mostly backups in this game. I think the one preseason game you're going to see any inkling of the starters is the one game, coincidentally enough, that there's no joint practice, and that's the Monday night tilt versus the Cincinnati Bengals. I do think that's going to feature Jaden Daniels and the first team offense getting reps. Probably one possession. Hopefully it goes clean, smoothly, and they score and they come off the field. Same thing can be said for the defense. They're going to get in, get out, hopefully get a stop, get off the field, and then you'll allow these backups to get out there and close out the remaining portion of that game. And then you know for a fact we're not going to see any starters in the week 3 preseason game versus the Baltimore Ravens. So going to be interesting. Big week ahead of the Commanders as they kick off their preseason schedule this week. But more importantly, joint practices. We finally see what this team looks like against another opponent. We start to hear what these guys are doing in sessions that are scripted, right? They can script a little bit of this, but it's more so your best against my best. Let's see what we've got. And that's how you get a lot of good work. And so I'm expecting to hear good things. Unlike last year when this team went to New York to take on the Jets in the first joint practice of the summer, it was not very pretty for the Burgundy and Gold. However, as we know, that helped this team tremendously. So whether it's good or bad, it's going to be a good experience for the team. But we're a lot different now. We're a full year removed from that. And what a difference a year makes, as I like to say to anyone that I haven't talked to since last year this time. And so I expect much different results than last time when we played an AFC East opponent in our first joint practices of the preseason schedule and the first preseason game overall. So with that said, as I like to do with Training Camp Confidential, let's get into the house cleaning portion of the show before we get to the minutia of what practice entailed yesterday, and then ultimately talk about what was said at the podium. We heard from DQ, as we always do, in addition to rookie tackle Josh Conerly Jr. and veteran Jeremy Reeves at the safety position. So we will get to those comments a little bit later on in the show. Let's get to some house cleaning first. And so we talked about this briefly after day 7 of practice. We'd signed Braylon Edwards, or excuse me, Braylon Sanders, former Miami Dolphin, former Oregon, Oklahoma State wide receiver, but more importantly, for guys like Ed, former Washington. What's the name of the team that's in the USFL? Or is it the XFL, right? UFL. Yeah, them. Whatever the hell that team's name is, the one that won the championship this year. Don't ask me what their name is. They signed the receiver that played for them this year, helped them win the UFL championship. DC Defenders. There you go. Thank you, mental fortitude. The Defenders. That's it. So the Commanders signed him. We talked about this. I think it was Friday that he was signed. However, the team hadn't officially put out the report yet. And remember, I said this has nothing. Remember, Terry had put in the trade request on Thursday evening. And so Friday morning, we find out that the team is signing Braylon Sanders at the receiver position. And, everybody started to lose their shit. Like, wait a minute, what does this mean? I'm like, and a lot of the beat reporters like, this has absolutely zero to do with Terry McLaurin. Like, duh, right? But my question wasn't, does this have anything directly to do with Terry McLaurin? It was, okay, so they're signing this guy. Whose roster spot is he taking, right? And I was like, they got to do something because we have 90 guys. And somebody was like, well, actually, we have 91 spots, Louie. Okay, fine. We have 91 because of the International Pathway Program spot that we have. Yes. All right. TJ Mag is on this roster as well. So technically 91. Okay. Still doesn't matter. The point still remains that someone had to go to free up a space for Braylon Sanders. And I kept saying, who is that someone? That's all I care about. I know this has nothing to do with Terry. Well, we got our answer yesterday. Tyree Jackson is placed on the injury reserve list. His season is done. So he has not been cut. He's simply been placed on IR. His season is done. And here's the roster spot being taken. So that kind of sucks. I was actually interested to see what Tyree Jackson would do in the preseason. He's a big guy at 6'7", 250. I was actually anxious to see if he could produce something and make it an interesting conversation for maybe future references, but that won't be the case. So Braylon Sanders has taken his spot, and Tyree Jackson will not be taking part in the preseason for the Washington Commanders this season. So that was the answer to that question for me. Also, another bit of house cleaning. This following statement that I'm about to read is from the Washington Commanders managing partner, Josh Harris. Owner Josh Harris, very excited about what took place on Friday. This was another thing that I talked about should have been at the forefront of the conversations. Instead, the Terry holdout, not holdout, the Terry trade request kind of overshadowed all of this, but there was a vote that took place on Friday that was pretty substantial. The following quote reads, today's approval, keep in mind, this was from August 1st, so this was from Friday. All of this took place after I had already gone live. I wasn't coming back on live again. It wasn't important enough for me to do that. I just figured I'd clean it up when I came back. That time is now. Today's approval by the council is transformational for DC and brings the Commanders back to our spiritual home. Like many fans, RFK was the site of memories that fueled my love for this team and this city. Now we're closer than ever to reigniting that energy for a new generation. The quote continues, we're incredibly grateful to the mayor and council throughout this process for their leadership and guidance. The quote continues, this is a historic moment. This project is about more than delivering a state-of-the-art stadium or a world-class stadium worthy of our players, fans, and the region. It's about revitalizing a critical part of our city, creating thousands of jobs, unlocking long-term economic benefits for the district. We look forward to working with our fans, residents, community leaders, and elected officials to deliver on this vision. Long story short, there were votes that took place. Those votes have essentially opened the door fully for Washington to go back to RFK, which is what we thought would happen all along once they had that press conference some month and a half ago or whatever it was, when they had Mayor Bowser, they had, and this was the real kicker, they had, Roger Goodell there, the NFL commissioner. He didn't just show up to your events for the hell of it. His presence being there meant that this shit was pretty much a done deal. So now it's coming to fruition. Steps have been taken. This thing's going to happen. And Operation 2030 is in full effect. So we look forward to seeing this team build this, grandiose stadium that we all want to be a part of, that we all want to be in, and turning that into an economical boom and boost for that area. It's, that area, there's so much promise there, so much you can do with that area. And it's that stadium had just been sitting there rotting away. Nothing's been going on down there. Now they're going to do something about it. And I think it's a really good thing for DC. So looking forward to seeing all that changes down there, looking forward to seeing all that it brings to that area. And more importantly, looking forward to seeing them create an environment around that stadium that gives that place life and gives this organization, this team, this fan base an even bigger home field advantage than the one that they're currently trying to create. So there is that. All right, now let's transition into practice yesterday. Another fully padded practice. And before I get to the particulars of practice yesterday, I want to make a couple of declarations, and I also want to go back a bit. Something that I should have mentioned during day 7, because this took place in day 7 of practice, not day 8. And I've been following people on social media that have made mention of this. I haven't. And so that's negligence on my part, but it's never the wrong time to do the right thing. So I'm going to clean that up right now and say that Matt Gay, we haven't heard a lot of him. Money Matt, as I'm going to call him, because I think he's going to be money for us. Money Matt was excellent in day 7 of training camp practice, hit multiple plus 50-yard kicks or 50-plus yard kicks. He's been splendid throughout camp to this point. I've heard from multiple fans who have been in attendance who have said, hey, he's made everything that I've seen him kick while I was there. It was one fan that was like, hey, I may be actually able to watch field goals this year with my eyes open because I think this guy's going to make them. So he's been really positive. Haven't heard a lot about him yet, but practice number 7 of training camp was the first time I'd heard any beat reporter actually mention, hey, Matt Gay was, making kicks from this distance or that distance. And, DQ said that we're going to start to get into situational work moving forward. That's going to involve special teams, obviously, and that's going to involve Matt Gay where, hey, pressure situation, down 2, got to have it, need this field goal from 48 to win, etc. You're going to see those situations being set up. You're going to have situations where, hey, if Matt Gay makes this kick, practice is over. If he doesn't, we got more, practice. You guys got to run, whatever the case may be, to put extra pressure on him, right? So we're going to see those things start to come to life here. But he has been basically flawless. Unlike last time this year when we were in camp and we were talking about guys like Ahmed, what was his name? Well, that was his last name, so I could just call him Ahmed, right? It wasn't Reeves? Was it Reeves? Ahmed? I think it was Reeves. Talking about guys like him and a bunch of bums. Who else was there last year? Is it Matthew? Yeah, I want to forget about the kicking situation last year because it wasn't great. Hopefully, we replaced all of those kickers, like 5 or 6 of them that we had throughout the course of the year last year, with one guy, and he's going to take care of business and put this whole conversation to sleep. So good for Matt Gay starting out his career here in Washington. Luke McCaffrey made some big catches in practice on Saturday. Good for Luke. I think JP Finley had a tweet where he said, Luke made a big catch down the sideline over a defender, and he's like, I think he really needed that. And, that's a crazy thing to say just 8 days into training camp practice. But if, again, he's had a rough go of it. And fans were piling on this guy before we even got to training camp. Whether it was the picture that went kind of viral with him, his brother, and Bijan, as he told us his name is, Bijan Robinson. Mama named you Bijan, I'm going to call you Bijan. So that picture went viral. Then you had, talks and conversations about him having drops in camp and things of that nature. And so it'd been a little bit of a struggle for him. People were piling on him. I don't think he's looking at social media or anything like that, but you can feel it, right? I mean, he's human. When you're effing up. When you got to be better. So him making the catches yesterday, one of them was over Trey Amos. You probably seen that one on social media. They posted that video yesterday. It's good for him to start making plays. That one was from Jaden. He has to be a bigger part of the offense this year. Like, no matter what happens with Terry, no matter what happens with Jalen Lane, we're going to need Luke McCaffrey at some point in 2025. Whether that's by force or by choice. Whatever the case may be, we're going to need him to step up in year 2, right? And again, it's not like we're asking him to step up on a wide receiver 2 level, or hell, even a wide receiver 3 level. If everything goes according to plan, Luke McCaffrey should be your 4th to 5th best option on this team from a receiver standpoint, right? If everything goes according to plan, Terry, Debo, and Noah Brown should be your top 3 options at receiver. If you want to throw Jalen Lane, and let me make another declaration since I'm here, because Luke's going to be just fine. Let me make a declaration here. Michael Gallup is making this football team. All right. I'm going to make that declaration right now. Assuming health, and obviously I can't control that. He can't control that. The team cannot control that. Assuming health, Michael Gallup is making this football team. Just so we're clear. Okay. Just wanted to put that out there. All right. So Luke McCaffrey had a really good practice on Saturday, which is well needed for him. Much, much needed. JCJ, Josh Conerly Jr., really starting to get acclimated to the right side of the offensive line. We're going to talk more about him when we get to his press conference, because so often some of the things get lost in the transition from collegiate athlete to NFL athlete, and then from moving from the left side to the right side. These are all things that fans just overlook, just gloss over and act like there's just this easy transition and seamless transition from left to right, college to pros. And it's just good to hear from him, because he's giving you insight as to some of the things that he's had to adjust to. And that slows down the process. Even if the slightest, it still slows it down nonetheless. It's good to hear that he's getting more comfortable, more acclimated. And I still am really confident he's going to be our week 1 starter at right tackle. And then Trey Amos continues to just be a revelation as a 2nd-round pick. You guys have seen the play where he breaks up the pass from Debo. First of all, Debo with the push off, right? With the sudden push off, veteran move, right? Just a little push at the top of that route. Ball's coming. Get the little separation with the push. Goes to catch it and adjust back shoulder. And Trey Amos, this is so beautiful because generally, one, if you get pushed off at the point of catch, usually you can't rebound and get back into play and break it up. So one, he gets pushed. Two, it's back shoulder. So it's hard enough to defend back shoulder even if you're in perfect position without a push. You add in a push at the point of catch, and it's back shoulder, and it makes it 2 times harder to get involved in the play as a defender. And not only does he reach in, separate ball from Debo Samuel, but rake it out and then put up the no, incomplete sign before the ball even hits the ground because he knows what he's already done. So it's just beautifully done. It wasn't pass interference, not even close to it. Like, he does so much work, and the best of the best in the league do this. He does so much of his work without even laying a hand on the receiver. Doesn't need to pull his jersey to be in phase. He's right there, technically sound. We got us one, man. Damn it, we got us one. It feels good at the cornerback position. I've longed for this for so long. We haven't had a real corner here in Washington since D'Angelo Hall, because I didn't count Josh Norman as one because he couldn't play man coverage. He used to get cooked in man coverage consistently. I remember his first year, which was his best year here in Washington, Josh Norman I'm speaking of, he was getting worked over by Terrell Pryor when he was with the Browns. It was part of the reason we were excited the next year when Terrell Pryor came to Washington. It's because he cooked Josh Norman in that game. In the first half, he was killing him. Norman ultimately got his revenge later in the game. I think he got the game-clinching pick, if I'm not mistaken. But Norman wasn't great in man coverage. I remember that game. I think his first year here was the game we played over in London the last time we were in an international game against the Bengals, and he was just getting worked over by A.J. Green. I mean, young, fresh, and green, just killing him. It's A.J. Green, as I used to say, was killing him. He couldn't play man coverage down the field. So Trey Amos is the best corner I think we're going to be able to say we've had since going all the way back to D'Angelo Hall. We had moments with Bashad Breeland, but consistently for a season or two, D Hall was probably the last time we had a legit cornerback play in Washington. Again, Ronald Darby was awesome in 2020. Excellent. Even, but it was 1 year. It was 1 year. I think we got something here, man. So really looking forward to seeing him continue to develop and blossom. Can't wait to see him on the field in the preseason. I don't think we're going to see him versus the Patriots in the preseason game, number one, but I do think we'll see him in along with the rest of the starters in week 2 of the preseason versus Cincinnati. And I can't wait to see him on the field in a Commander's uniform. This guy's going to be a stud. I am almost assured of it. I am almost sure of it. So that said, let's get to some more news and notes from practice. So Saturday was the first time Washington's offense and defensive lines went through one-on-one drills. So we haven't heard about those. We've heard about a lot of guys pairing off and getting a lot of work against one another, but it's been in simulated team drills. So we've heard a lot of Javon Kinlaw and Brandon Coleman, like baking each other better, but it's been in some sort of 7-on-7, 11-on-11 team drills, but they're going up against one another, right? Hasn't been one-on-one drills. So this is the first time we've seen that. We haven't heard about corners and, wide receivers doing one-on-one drills. We haven't heard about linebackers and running backs, doing one-on-one drills, whether it's blitz pickup or running a route, trying to get open as a running back. We haven't heard about any of those because those haven't really taken place for the most part. So says, although the drill was geared towards helping the offense, it focused on how effectively to pass off stunts and twists from the defensive line. And the trio of Brandon Coleman, Tyler Biadasz and Nick Allegretti worked well together. Chris Paul and Trent Scott also had a solid rep together as they moved in sync to pass off a twist. There were some moments where the defensive line shined, though. Deron Payne showed nice bend to get past the guard. Louie also delivered a pop to Conerly on one rep, reminding the rookie that he needs to be lower in his stance to withstand bull rushes. Remember, this is something that I'm glad we're continuing to see Josh Conerly have to play through. There have been reps this camp where guys like Cleveland Farrell and Dietrich Wise and Frankie Louvu have gotten in his chest and blown him back. And it's a reminder to him that this is grown man strength, one, but two, you got to play with better leverage. You can't stand up like he did. A lot of times in college, you see tackles stand straight up. And because you're not playing against NFL caliber guys, you get away with it. In the NFL level, you show guys your jersey number cleanly. You show them high pad level. And they're going to get up under those things and they're going to drive you back. And for a guy that we've already said needs to be functionally stronger, it's good to get these types of reps against guys like Louvu and Dietrich Wise and, guys that are going to test you, Von Miller, and guys that can definitely bull rush you, but guys that can also run by you and have you thinking about, is this guy going to try to run past me? Do I need to kind of open up my hips and try to make sure that he doesn't run the arc on me, or all of a sudden that guy comes with power and you're looking for speed and here we go. This is good work for him. This is him having his tools sharpened, so to speak, right? His tools, I should say, being sharpened. So that's a good rep. Even though he lost that rep, that's a good rep. It helps. Trey Amos still putting together position plays. While the linemen were on one end of the field, the rest of the skill position players were running 7-on-7 period. Amos lined up against Deebo Samuel. Jaden Daniels delivered a pretty pass to Samuel down the sideline. This is the play I referenced earlier that you've seen clips of on the team's social media, whether it's on X or IG. But Amos was able to knock it away before the wideout could complete the catch. It was a beautiful back shoulder from Jaden. Deebo with a, like I said, vet push off at the top of the route, goes to secure the football. And before he could put it away, Amos stuck his hand in the cookie jar and was able to dislodge the football. Just an amazing play considering there was a push off and it was back shoulder. You put those two things together, generally a DB doesn't stand a chance. But that was a hell of a play by Trey Amos, which is just further proof that he's going to be special, I believe. Now, this is the first practice. So, the title of this video is All Is Well in Commander's Land, except obviously Terry McLaurin not being signed is the first thing that jumps out at you. The second thing is we had a few bumps on Saturday. We haven't had much talk of injuries. We don't talk about those things here a lot. We try to refrain from those conversations being had. We want no parts of that. However, we did have some nicks and bruises on Saturday. So let's talk about some of these things that transpired. We have some injury news for some offensive players. Marcus Mariota, we talked about this during day 7, right? DQ talked about a little bit of Marcus Mariota, and it spawned a conversation where we talked about Mariota not really needing to see him in the preseason. I think we learned our lesson last year about not having to see Marcus perform in the preseason to know what he's capable of. He played, one series against the Jets in the first preseason game, got injured somehow. Maybe it was practice, maybe it was in that game. Didn't see him again the rest of the preseason. Some of us, dum-dums like myself, guilty as charged, said that Jeff Driscoll deserved to be QB too. And Marcus Mariota quickly put that to rest with how he played during the season when pressed into action last year. So I think it's pretty safe to say that Marcus Mariota is just fine, whether he plays in the joint practices, plays in the preseason or not. He's going to be just fine come the start of the regular season. However, Marcus Mariota, who did not throw during team drills at all last week, which was news to some of us, and I talked about it last week a little bit, was back on the field for some 11-on-11 work and had a completion of Michael Gallup in tight coverage. As I said, Michael Gallup is making this team. All right. So Michael Gallup started off camp running with the 3s the majority of the time. Michael Gallup now running with the 2s the vast majority of the time. Michael Gallup is starting to get reps with the number 1s. Now, again, we've seen guys that we don't think are going to make this team, i.e. undrafted rookie Ja'Cory Brooks taking reps with the number 1s. Guys like Chris Moore taking reps with the number 1. So, again, you don't want to blow any of this stuff out of proportion and act like because Michael Gallup is taking reps with the 1s or 2s or this or that this is the end-all be-all. But Michael Gallup is a veteran that Dan Quinn is very comfortable with. And if he shows any signs of being the Michael Gallup that he was prior to his injury, which I would like to believe that he is closer to that guy now than he was when he retired, because he was coming off the injury. The year that he retired, he was just kind of getting back into the saddle, and he's just like, you know what? I don't want to play. I'm going to the Raiders. This isn't fun. I'm good. I'm out. Now I think he's back, and he's probably fully healthy now. A year off does wonders for the body, the mind, etc. I think he's going to be on this team. But the team is still being cautious with him as Sam Hartman took the majority of the second team reps. There's a conversation that we're going to have about Sam Hartman, about second team reps, about Josh Johnson, about Marcus Mariota, all of that when we talk about what DQ had to say. I'll say this. Shout out to my guy, Derek B. This is not going to be a great show for you. You're going to get a lot of stuff here from DQ's mouth that are going to go against a lot of things that you were trying to say that we didn't know last year that I was saying that we did know. So this is not going to be a good show for you, Derek B. You might want to turn away today. This might be one you want to skip over and come back tomorrow, right? So as we continue on with some more notes from day number 8 of training camp practice that took place on Saturday, 2 other offensive players went down with injuries on Saturday. That's, again, not what we want to hear, not what we want to be talking about. We've been pretty fortunate to start camp. We really haven't had a lot of conversations surrounding injuries and things of that nature. So Saturday was the first time where you heard that kind of stuff and you got, wait a minute now, time out. The first was Brandon Coleman, who looked like his ankle got rolled up on a run play. The other was Deebo Samuel, who was also banged up near the end of practice and went to the sideline holding his hand. Several beat reporters reported on both of these injuries. Coleman actually went to the tent and then went inside and did not return. Meanwhile, Deebo's happened towards the end of practice, never went to the tent, but was seen kind of, messing around with his hand. Had a weird exchange with Garafolo of NFL Network, who pretty much divulged this injury, which the team didn't want him to. You should have seen Deebo's face like, bro, what the F? But by all accounts, he jammed his finger. He's fine. Shit happens. Anyway, it's unclear exactly what the injury was, but he didn't go to the medical tent like Coleman. So, again, we all think he just jammed his finger up. If you've ever played sports of any kind, specifically basketball and football, jam fingers come with the territory, especially football. Right? Says rookie linebacker Kane Medrano showed some progress today as well. He ran through the offensive line on a blitz to take down Austin Eckler for a loss. Medrano's athleticism has been evident on several plays, and he has used it to put himself in position for pass breakups as well. We also saw him pick off Sam Hartman about 3 practices ago. Also, says the next step for him is to turn those into interceptions. So putting yourself in position to get your hands on the football is step 1. Step 2 is then putting yourself in that same position and then now taking the football away. Newcomer Lucas Niang seems to be coming along well in Washington's system. He had a solid pull block that opened for Felton, who gained a chunk of yardage on that play. So Lucas Niang hitting the field for one of his first practices on Saturday. We welcome all the bodies on the offensive line that we can get. And again, anytime you get a guy that was a former 3rd-round pick, there's some sort of talent there. Some sort of talent. Now, the question is, how does that talent manifest itself at this level? But you weren't a third-round pick for no reason. So we'll see if O-line Bobby Johnson can get it out of him. Lucas Niang seems like a guy that could easily be the swing tackle of the future here. Who knows? He's played both left and right in Kansas City for the Chiefs. He's not a starter by any means. That's already been proven, but he could be a good, swing tackle 2 years from now. Who knows? Maybe next year he could be ready to jump into that role. So, we'll see. We've had success with guys here at the tackle position as backups with the name Lucas before. Maybe we can duplicate that. And then finally, it's clear that Zach Ertz is going to be a big presence in Washington's offense. During a move the ball period, 3 of Daniel's completions went to the tight end, the last of which was a touchdown. The beat reporters on Saturday were raving about Zach Ertz. He was one of the big stories of Saturday's practice and how he and Jaden just continue to connect in the red zone. They continue to make beautiful music together. Ertz continues to get open, create separation, and Jaden Daniels continues to find him when it matters the most. Ertz just continues to play, feels like he's found some sort of the fountain of youth, and I'm here for all of it. If he's going to continue to play at this level, as much as I want to see Ben Sinnott get on the field, if they can't create situations where he and Ertz can be on the field together, give me Zach Ertz, because I already know what I'm getting out of him. I know what he's going to do. As much as I want Sinnott to get out there and get reps, I do not want those reps to come at the expense of Zach Ertz if he's continuing to ball the way that he did last season. You can call him whatever you want, no yak, Zach, whatever the hell you want to call him. All I know is when the ball goes in his general vicinity, he catches that bitch, and it usually goes for a big conversion on 3rd, 4th, or touchdown. So I'll take that all day, every day, 7 days a week. So that was your report from day number 8 of practice. Commanders off today. They're going to have, I believe, I believe they have practice tomorrow. And it's supposed to be like a light one before catching a flight, going to New England and getting ready for these joint practices. I believe that's the case. I could be wrong. They could be off today, fly out tomorrow, joint practice Tuesday. It feels like this should be the schedule. No practice today, get on a plane tomorrow, joint practice with New England Tuesday, joint practice Wednesday, no practice, walkthroughs Thursday, game on Friday. That's, to me, what feels like the schedule, but I don't remember what was said. They told us what the schedule was going to be like 2-3 days ago, and I just completely forget if there's practice tomorrow and then they fly out, or if there's no practice tomorrow, they use tomorrow as a travel day, and then they practice Tuesday, Wednesday, game on Friday. That's what it feels like. That's what makes the most sense. But in any event, let's get to what was said by DQ, Jeremy Reaves, and Josh Conerly Jr. at the presser yesterday, right? So, and let me just reiterate this too. Those injuries that were sustained yesterday seem very minor in nature, but for a guy like Brandon Coleman, who it seems like every time we get to the first preseason game, the first joint practice, something always goes awry with him, and it cuts his preseason short, and it limits the amount of reps he gets. For a guy that had been healthy all offseason, just like last year, and he gets to the damn first week of joint practices with the Jets, and he gets hurt, and he's not able to participate. We'd love to see him, and he needs the reps. He's at a different position. He needs the reps. So here's to hoping that ankle injury he sustained, very minor, they can tape it up and he can get out there. But it is also the preseason. It is also training camp. And if there's any sign of discomfort, this is the time where you say, bro, you're good. Don't worry about it. It just sucks because these are the reps he needs the most. Practice is cool, it's much better to go against someone who doesn't give a shit about what you got going on. Someone who isn't on your team, who isn't being coached to take care of you, right? Take care of your fellow man, take care of your brother, take care of your teammates. It's good to go up against a guy that's just strictly out there to whoop your ass and make you look bad and doesn't care how he has to do it. You don't know the plays that are being run. They don't know the plays that are being run. And you got to get after it. That's what you want. You want reps against guys who are out there trying to get after it from a different color jersey. And he, for the second consecutive year, may miss that. He may miss that. Let's hope that it's not that serious. Debo seems very insignificant. I don't think it's anything that's going to keep him out of any of the practices this week. Again, I'm no doctor, and I did not sleep at a Holiday Inn last night, but I think we may have dodged a couple of bullets with both of those situations. So, with that said, DQ, press conference. Once again, Derek B., if you're out there, you may want to turn this portion particularly of this show off because we've had conversations about several of these topics, and DQ pretty much is confirming what I said last year, and you tried to tell me I didn't know if that was true or not. We're going to get to some of those things. So he started off his press conference talking about going back to RFK and how special that is. He gave a lot of credit to Josh Harris and a lot of the people that were really instrumental in having this vision and then going out and executing this vision of getting back to RFK. So he talked about that at the start of his press conference. He then talked about Terry. You knew that was coming because obviously this was the first practice since Terry had made the trade request. So DQ, and can I just say something else too? Terry made the trade request, unlike Michael Parsons, who literally does not want to be in Dallas, does not want to be a part of that organization any longer, would love to be traded. He's not going to be traded because, again, much like Terry, he doesn't hold any, and when I say any, I mean none. He doesn't hold any leverage. When you're under contract, there's nothing you can do. And even after the contract is up, in the case of a Michael Parsons, franchise tag is waiting on you, Holmes. You hold no value whatsoever. You have no leverage. You cannot sign the franchise tag, but that means you're not playing football. That's all that means. There's no way around it. You want to play football, it's going to be for the Dallas Cowboys, unless they say otherwise. And they could franchise tag you again, even if you declare, I'm not signing anything with this team, doesn't matter. They still hold all of your rights. So him, Terry, and others that find themselves in these positions have no leverage, right? But unlike Michael Parsons, who really doesn't want to be a Cowboy anymore because of Jerry Jones's antics, Terry wants to be here. We saw the clips of Terry hugging Miss Jackson, hugging owner Josh Harris, just continuing to be cordial at practice, signing autographs for fans when he doesn't have to. The man wants to be here, folks. It's very clear and apparent. This trade request is only a ploy and a tactic used in a negotiation to try and get something done. But trust and believe, Terry McLaurin does not want to be traded. And they're not going to trade him, by the way. He said, regarding a Terry trade request, he's like, look, Terry came to me as a man, which first of all, and I love Michael Parsons did the same thing. He went to Stephen Jones and to his face and said, I want out of Dallas and I'm going to make a formal request to be traded. Terry did the same thing with DQ. He went to DQ's office man to man and said, hey, I'm about to put in my request to be formally traded. Just so you know what's going on. You're not blindsided. I'm trying to get, if y'all not going to give me the deal, just get me out of here, right? So he's like, he came to me like a man, told me what was good. I appreciate him for that. We love Terry. And I'm going to allow, Adam Peters and his staff to continue to work on the business side of things to get this done. But I love Coach Terry. I love the fact that he's here. He's involved. And soon, you can't wait to get him back on the practice field. That's going to happen sooner rather than later, whether he's got a deal or not. That's coming soon to a screen near you, right? Terry McLaurin on the field with his teammates. That's coming to a field near you. But he talked about like staying out of the business, staying out of the way, like not, and this is something else that he talked about later on in the press conference, but keeping your emotions out of the mix and just strictly focusing in on the business at hand. And we'll talk more about that when we get there. But he said, look, he understands the situation. He gets it. You know, requesting a trade is part of the negotiating process, which he's not wrong. It doesn't have to be, right? But when it's contentious, when neither side can really reach an agreement, this is what ultimately happens. Trades get requested. So it's not the first time we've seen this. It's not the last time we're going to see it. And DQ said it's a part of the game, and none of us are over here tripping about it. We're good. Terry's good. We love him, and can't wait to have him back on the field. I love coaching him. So that was the gist of that. He said he has not addressed the Terry situation with the team, nor should he. Right? Like, that's crazy. I know John Keim keeps kind of bringing that narrative up, asking him if he's addressed it with the team, and DQ keeps saying, no, I haven't. And why would he? Like, one of the unwritten rules of an NFL locker room, this is taboo, all 32 teams, every locker room, is you don't discuss another man's money, ever. I remember when Brett Favre did it back in like 2002 with Javon Walker. It was the beginning of the end of Javon Walker in Green Bay. You never, ever talk about another man's money. And now seeing what Brett Favre has, what he is, it makes sense that he would think that he was above the locker room taboo of talking about another man's money and basically saying, you need to shut up and come in here and play, which Javon Walker did. And then he tore his ACL and didn't get a big contract from Green Bay, which is why guys tend to stay away from talking about another man's money. If it ain't your money, then shut the hell up, right? And so DQ's like, nah, we're not discussing Terry's situation. Like, even if we're not getting into the contractual portion of it in peace, I don't need to tell them what's going on with Terry. So to put them at ease, they got jobs to do, and Jeremy Reeves basically said it, and we'll talk about that when we get to him. But he was like, everybody's got a job to do. We're going to go out here, put the best practice that we can put on. And, he's got the support of his teammates. He's got the support of the staff. He's got the support of everyone in the building. We know what's going on, right? And we're going to just keep moving forward. All right. What needs to be said? Why do I need to have a conversation about what's going on with Terry? Everybody knows. He said there's more conversations that go on now about these things than before. So these guys are well aware of what's going on. They have each other's back, and there's nothing that really needs to be said, right? So here's one of the things that DQ talked about. I had a bunch of conversations with Derek B last year, or this year rather, about them platooning Andrew Wiley and Josh Conerly Jr. at right tackle, to which Derek B said that he thinks, and again, this isn't the part that I'm debating with him, because we don't know what's ultimately going to happen. Josh Conerly Jr. may not be ready to assume the role of starting tackle, and they may start the season off with the platooning thing. I just always felt like this was only done because Brandon Coleman didn't get the necessary reps last year because of the injury that he sustained prior to the joint practice week with the Jets. He never was really fully healthy from that point on. He missed the entire preseason. He came back right at the end of the preseason, didn't play in any games. And so they weren't going to just throw him to the wolves, which is why Luke got reps along with Cornelius or along with Brandon Coleman to start the season off before Coleman ultimately took over. Well, DQ pretty much confirmed what I had said last year, which is Brandon Coleman was on track. He was on pace to start. I think anybody that was paying attention last year recognized that. They had already given him the starting job going into the joint practice week with the Jets, and then he sustained the injury. So DQ pretty much said, we platooned last year because it worked, because of the circumstances. And then the next question was, hey, are you thinking about potentially using the platoon thing again, like you did last year with Luke and BC. And he was like, actually, that was out of necessity because Brandon sustained the injury. If not for that injury, I don't know if we would have gone that route. So it's not like they unlocked some sort of, way of doing things like, hey, we like that. Let's do that again. No, this isn't college football, bro. We're not out here platooning in tackles every other possession. That's some college football shit. In the NFL, you got starters, guys that play, right? Like, it's one thing on the defensive line to be rotating guys in and out. You don't rotate guys in and out on the offensive line. You want continuity with this group. You don't have to necessarily have that on the defensive side of the football. You have to have that on the offensive side. So taking a guy in and out of the lineup is not conducive to creating chemistry. So DQ basically shot down any notion of them wanting to do the platooning thing last year. They basically did it out of necessity, right? He talked about being impressed with this rookie class. He said that, obviously it's only 5 players. And I've said this already. I think this you could add these 5 players to the foundation that was set last year with the rookies, because this class, although it's condensed and very concentrated in nature, I think the impact of this group could be just as big as the group last year, minus Jaden Daniels, of course. But that class was, 6 guys in the first 2 days, and it was 9 guys overall. This class is just 5 guys, but I think the impact of these 5 guys could be greater than that of the guys that were taking, the 9 guys that were taken last year, again, minus Jaden Daniels. Mikey also makes that a pretty tough conversation to have go over. But when you think about it, last year we got 2 starters out of the draft, 3 Coleman, and a possible in McGee down the road, right? Ben Sinnott could easily turn into a starter down the road. Right now, kind of hard to envision that until we see more from him. But right now, you've got Coleman, you've got Mikey, you've got Jaden as your 3 starters, right? And if none of the other guys ever start, I don't think any of us would be tripping. Although if Johnny Newton doesn't produce at a higher level than what he has, that'll be a disappointment as a 2nd-round pick. I know Ben Sinnott will be a disappointment for some of you if he never ever starts. But if Zach Ertz keeps playing at this level, that could actually come to fruition, which I would be perfectly fine with. But at the end of the day, this group that we just drafted, of the 5 players, I think 4 of them are going to be starters by the end of the season. 3 are starting day 1, more likely than not, in 1st-round pick Josh Conerly Jr., 2nd-round pick Trey Amos, 4th-round pick Jalen Lane as a special teams player. So you got 3 of those guys contributing right away, right? A 4th in Bill, who we think is going to be starting by year's end and be an integral part of this offense probably from week 1, but a starter probably midway to 2/3 of the way through the season. And so you're talking about 4 guys that are contributing at an extremely high level as starters, not as depth pieces as we saw last year. So he said this group of rookies comes in extremely mature, very businesslike. They're sponges. And he said he was really impressed, and he told Adam Peters that he was really impressed with the amount of work that these guys put in the offseason. But he's like, you really can't tell because you've got so many transitional periods in the offseason. You're still trying to figure things out. You don't really know what applications are being, utilized, because it's hard to just see everything transforming when you just got here. Your head is spinning from the whole draft process to finally getting drafted, to then showing up for rookie minis, to getting your contracts, figuring out where you're going to live at. There's so much going on. But you say when you get to camp, you get to see it, and you see these guys, building on things that they did the day before, taking all of the information that they were given in the offseason, putting it to use on the field. And he's like, these guys are ahead of schedule. And that's a great sign for this class, because this is going to be a big class. I really believe that this class is going to be huge. And they're going to be another one of these foundational blocks that we're building to turn this into a bully that can sustain itself over the next decade plus. He talked about the third quarterback battle that's taking place, and I got laughed at when I brought this up. And I talked about battles that we should keep an eye on going into training camp. I did this probably, I don't know, 3-4 days before the start of training camp, maybe a week or so. And I said, hey, look out for the QB3 battle. And several people laughed at me like, Louie, what the hell are you talking about, bro? Ain't nobody checking for that shit. Ain't no third quarterback battle. What you talking about? And Marcus being out has allowed them to give Josh Johnson and Sam Hartman more second team reps. And DQ spoke about the third quarterback. He said that's actually a fascinating battle between the third quarterback. And I'm like, yeah, see. So he said that, this was a pretty big week for them in terms of getting those reps and seeing what they could do with those reps. I feel like if Sam Hartman, which I think they're going to give him every opportunity to run away with this QB3 job, because again, 39-year-old Josh Johnson is cool, but if we don't have to, we would prefer to keep young Sam Hartman on the roster, like active roster, and feel like he's ready. You're not going to do that if you don't feel like Sam Hartman's ready, because remember, Sam's going to be available every single week. Your third quarterback, that's why you keep 3 now. Instead of the 2 that teams used to keep, you keep the third, because that third quarterback does not count against your active 53-man roster or your active game day roster, whatever that number is now. If it's still 46, if it's 48, whatever that number is, they don't count towards that number on game day because they're an emergency quarterback, but they get to dress and be active. So as long as they're on the roster, the 53-man roster. So Sam Hartman is literally 2 plays away from being in a game, or your third quarterback, your emergency quarterback, is 2 plays away from being in the game. So you got to feel confident that if pressed into action, Sam can get it done, and you don't just hold on to him because he's a young quarterback and you want to continue to develop him. You can do that in the practice squad, assuming nobody comes for your stuff. And again, that kind of has where the preseason plays into that decision-making process. If Sam goes out and he crushes it, and teams, take note of that, they could come for your stuff if you cut it loose. Whereas Josh Johnson, everyone knows what he is at this point of his career. No one's fighting you over Josh Johnson. He's 39 years old. You put him on the practice squad, and if someone wants to come and snatch him up, so be it. It is what it is. But that's an interesting, battle. I think it's Sam Hartman's job to lose. Like, all he has to do is go out there and play and continue to do some of the good things he's done in camp, and it's his job. Like, they don't want to keep Josh Johnson here. They don't have to. He talked about Marcus Mariota being back. He was going to practice fully, which he did, even though it was on a limited basis. He did take some 11-on-11 team reps. It wasn't many, but it was enough to say that he practiced in full today. He did everything, did individual drills, did 7-on-7, did 11-on-11 work. So he was technically fully back, but they cut those reps down significantly because they're not going to overwork him coming back from whatever ailment he was dealing with. And then DQ also spoke about the New England game and the plan for playing time. He says they have already established that. He's not going to share that with us, of course, which he doesn't need to, but they've pretty much already locked that in as to what they're going to do. I can tell you what they're going to do. Like, this isn't rocket science. We all get what the point of these joint practices are. They are to put you in a position where you don't have to put your starters on the field in game situations. It's much safer and in a controlled environment to do it at practice than it is during a game. So that's why you see teams like the Rams and the Seahawks used to do it when they had Pete Carroll there. But you see all these different staffs. The Chargers used to do it when they had Staley as their coach, where there were no preseason reps. Anybody came from the Rams with Sean McVay, came from that tree, pretty much shit on the preseason. Practice is more important with joint practices than games in the preseason. I assure you that you won't see any starters for the Commanders, any significant ones in this week 1 preseason game, nor week 3, because both contain joint practices. You weren't going to see them in week 3 of the preseason regardless, joint practice or not. But being that those 2 weeks have joint practices, they're going to get all the work they need there. And the only one that doesn't is week 2, which is convenient because that's going to be the only game that I think the starters play in anyway. It's interesting. The only thing that gives me a bit of pause as to whether the starters, it doesn't give me a lot of pause because the game is on a Monday. So you go from playing on the 8th to the 18th to the 23rd. It's a weird schedule, right? You get all this space between the first and second preseason game, and then it's condensed from preseason game 2 to preseason game 3. But the little bit of game action that they're going to see isn't going to put wear and tear on their body enough to be like, well, they got to turn around and be in a joint practice against the Ravens. You play on, Monday night, you take Tuesday off, you joint practice Wednesday, Thursday, you take Friday off, you play in a preseason game, which none of the players are going to play in anyway on Saturday. Like, it's not hard. So that's what it is. I don't think it's hard. Don't think it's hard to kind of predict what they're going to do, but we'll see. DQ talked about staying out of the Terry situation, like from the standpoint of, he's like, he said, me and AP do a lot of shit together. And he talked about them watching practice with each other every day. After practice is taking place, they sit together and they watch the practice film, together to break down what guys are doing, to talk about what they need to see more of, who's standing out, what are some guys that are disappointing. If a roster move has to be made, they come together with the rest of the staff and decide, hey, should we keep this guy? We need a roster spot. Who are we getting rid of, et cetera, et cetera. But he said he doesn't, he purposefully doesn't do this. He talked about when he was in Atlanta, and not in this press conference, but he's talked about this in the past, especially when he first got here. One of the things he learned from his first stint as a head coach is he had too much on his plate. He was involved in everything, and it took his attention away from the things that he felt like mattered, which was being a coach. And he said he wanted to delegate, and he wanted to, be present with his players and with his staff, and he didn't want to be overwhelmed by shit that had to do with front office affairs. And so he said, I don't want the responsibility of contracts and picking the roster. Yes, I'm involved in some of those conversations about guys that fit this team, the culture, etc. But I don't want to be involved in the process of getting those guys here. That's why we have a general manager, and that's why we have an assistant general manager, and all of those guys, scouts, and people that we trust handling all of those situations. So he's like, I stay out of the Terry situation because that's not my department. Once Terry is back in the mix and he is, officially ready to go, that's where I jump in, I coach him up, and I get back into the fold. But this whole negotiation situation, the business part of it, I got nothing to do with that, right? Then he took it a step further. Another question was asked, and it was more about how do you keep the emotions out of this, because emotions are running high. We've heard Terry speak. We know he's not happy. We know he's taking it personally. How do you keep emotions out? And DQ was like, great question. I'm glad you asked that, because he said it's hard to keep emotions out. He's like, I just know that from experience, I stay out of this, and I don't try to choose sides, and I don't try to put myself in anyone's shoes, right? These guys are trying to set their families up for the future. They're putting themselves in a position to be financially stable. It's not my place to say, well, if it was me, you're getting all this money, why don't you do that? That's not my place. He's like, it's not what I do. I stay out of it. I try to remove the emotion from it as much as possible. He said, we're human. You know how it goes. But he said, I try to remove the emotions away from the situation because, again, that's his situation. My job is to give him advice if he asks me, but my job is to coach him, and so I try to remove all emotion from the situation. It was a really good answer. He talked about special teams and how many running backs to keep, and his philosophical approach, and has it evolved over the years. This is one of the bigger debates. I talked about this at least 15 times this offseason. It was also a part of my training camp battles to watch video because I said one of the big question marks on this roster, along with running back, was tight end and the ability to keep 3 or 4. Are they going to keep 4 tight ends again? I don't know. They love Colson Yankoff and they love him on special teams. And you see how much they value special teams by them giving Percy Butler an extension and Jeremy Reeves an extension and Nick Bellore an extension. They clearly value special teams here. That is not lip service. They are proving it with the way that they are maneuvering. All 3 of their best special teams players all got extensions this year. Bellore 2 years, Reeves an additional year, and same could be said for Percy Butler. So they clearly care about special teams. So when I talk about Jeremy McNichols and how much of a stud they feel like he is and how much of a contributor they feel like he is on special teams, when I talk about guys like Colson Yankoff, who they really, really like on special teams, when I talk about them drafting a guy in the 6th round this year who plays a position that easily could be on all 4 special teams, it makes things interesting because if you start to look at this roster and how special teams plays a part, you don't have to look too much further than that to figure out what they're going to do. So when he starts talking about how many running backs to keep and how that's changed over the years, because now with the kickoff return rules coming back into the fold and these kickoffs now being a bigger part of the equation, do you have a running back there returning kicks? Is it a receiver, right? Can the running back play special teams? These are all things that they ask themselves. Some teams have running backs that he said some teams keep multiple running backs on the practice squad for this particular reason, because on game days, you can make them active now. And so they don't have to be a part of the roster technically, but they're a part of the roster because they're on the practice squad, but you're bringing them up almost every week to be active. Kane Medrano factors into this as well, because if he's playing well on special teams, and Jeremy Reeves brought up Kane Medrano today, if he's playing well on special teams, and one of the things he didn't do well in college was tackle. Special teams is all about getting down there, being a problem. That's one. You don't have to make the tackle on special teams. People keep bringing up Jeremy McNichols only had 1 special teams tackle. That don't mean shit. If you get down there, you blow up a play, but you don't get the tackle, you're going to get accolades. You're going to get the praise and the credit for that. Yes, you want to make the tackle. But if you go down there and you hit a guy and you stop his momentum, but he breaks the tackle, but then here comes Percy Butler or Nick Bellore to clean it up. And when you made contact, it was at the 18-yard line, and then he gets tackled at the 19 and the 20. That's all you, bro, for the most part. So, you want disruptors on special teams, guys that blow shit up. Kane Medrano is capable of doing that. Now, will he make the tackle? Don't know. But he's capable of being a disruptor. They're not cutting Kane Medrano. We know this. So the question is, where are they trimming off fat from? It feels like running back right now. He basically, without saying, said that some teams keep a guy around on the practice squad or multiple running backs so they can pull them up on game day and have them be a part of the mix. That feels like a Jeremy McNichols comment. Again, he didn't say any names. He didn't say that's what we do. He said that's what some teams do. Again, DQ being the master, orator that he is. He didn't implicate himself or the team or any players on his roster. But if you can read between the lines, you see where he's going with that conversation. And they're not cutting Bill. They're not cutting Kane Medrano. This entire class is making the roster, just like the entire class last year made the roster. We're in no position to cut a single draft pick. I keep hearing guys like Lionel Willingham say, another really strong day for Bill as he continues to make a case to make this roster. Bro, he's already on the roster. What are you talking about? Kane Madrano's already on this roster. What are you talking about? There's nothing to see here. Roster-wise, these guys are making the roster. Whose spot are they taking? For me, it feels like Bill's taking Jeremy McNichols' spot. I don't think they're going to allow McNichols to stay on the roster. They're going to have him right there, though, on the practice squad, and he might be pulled up every single week. McNichols might be. Because he gives them depth as a return man on kickoffs, and he's a core special teamer. And if they have to put him in the game as a running back, they still feel comfortable doing that as well. Same thing could be said for maybe Colson Yankoff. Maybe they keep 4 at the tight end position. We'll see, right? But he said that special teams plays a huge part in how you determine, the running back number. But also the new utilization of the practice squad helps tremendously and makes the decision a lot easier as to what you do on special teams or what you do in terms of roster construction. You don't have to be as rigid now. Because I could easily just pull up a guy that I love, just put him on the practice squad and let him know, bro, you're going to be a big part of this team this year. It's just a numbers game. I can't guarantee you your salary for the year. That's the only thing I'm doing by not keeping you on the roster. But, bro, you're going to be active most games this season. Trust and believe that. So that was DQ. Let's get to Jeremy Reeves and his presser from yesterday. He talked about Terry's situation from a vet's perspective. He's like, look, Bobby Wagner had a quote the other day, unless you paying somebody's bills, stay out of their bills, essentially. So Bobby said, I think, a very influential quote when he stepped to the podium about a week ago, where he said, all business ain't your business, right? All business ain't your business. Something to that effect. Matter of fact, I got that quote in my notes somewhere. Let's go back to when he spoke, and I can tell you the exact quote. He said, some of the business is not your business, all right? Some of the business is not your business. That's what he said. Some of the business is not your business. That ain't nobody else's. It ain't nobody else's business but Terry's right now. It's between the Terry and the team. So Reed's pretty much like, hey, I got a job to do. I got to mind my business, put my head down, continue to work. I got bills to pay. I'm out here trying to feed a family. Like, I got shit I got to get done. I'm out here trying to be the best version of myself. I can't be worried about nobody else. But Terry knows how we feel about him in the locker room. He knows he's our brother. We love him. We support him. And we can't wait for him to get back on the field. He said that he talked about having a deeper core on special teams. This is kind of what I just talked about. Literally, with the dedication to special teams here in Washington. Not to say that it wasn't always this way, because I do think there was an emphasis being put on guys that they liked here on special teams and making sure that they kept certain guys based off of their special teams prowess. But this group clearly has made a much more concerted effort to be good on special teams. They see that as a major part of the game. A lot of times with teams, it's lip service about having 3 phases of the game: offense, defense, special teams. They really just focus on offense, defense. This group literally walk it like they talk it. Walk it like they talk it. And special teams is a massive part of what they're constructing here. Again, I've already talked about this tonight, but Reeves, Ballore, and Butler all got extensions this offseason. So you're talking about 3 guys that are core special teamers that don't see the field very often in a defensive capacity. Their job is to be disruptors, or as I like to call them, feeds on special teams. And they do it better than most in the league. And Reeves is one of those fiends. He's one of the leaders on the team. He was one of the captains during the playoff run last year. He's a guy that clearly this staff loves and respects. And he was respected enough to be a part of the photo shoot for the championship unis. He was all over that thing. And when asked about special teams core guys, he was like, yeah, the core has expanded. You know, it's not just myself and Nick Ballore and you know, he said a lot of guys don't get credit, like Percy Butler, for instance. He's like, and Reeves speaks about this all the time. Like, if you're not a main guy, if you don't play offense, you don't play defense, you're not considered a main guy. People aren't checking for you for the most part. So he's always gonna cape for special teams dudes. And he was like, Percy don't get the credit. And DQ even said this out his own mouth. So it's not like Jeremy Reeves just caping for Percy Butler. Like DQ said, when he talked about heavy hitters in the locker room, he brought up 3 special teams dudes, right? And 2 of them were Jeremy Reeves and Percy Butler. And he's like, you know, a lot of people don't give these guys credit like they should, but you talk about guys that are heavy hitters within that building that are respected, that the players love, the staff loves. We talking about Percy Butler and Jeremy Reeves, and I was like, Percy Butler? Well, it makes sense that he got the extension. And Reeves was like, people don't understand. Percy is a dog on special teams, which if you're a fan of this team and you've been paying attention, put your Percy Butler defensive bias aside, which I always do with y'all. I tell y'all, Percy's a dog on special teams, all right? Give me Percy Butler on special teams any day. It's Percival that often shows up on defense that I have an issue with. Percy Butler, the special teams player, is a menace. Love him. Give me 10 more Percys on special teams. You can win with that group. So that was never the question. He said, but it's Percy, it's Nick Ballore, it's myself, it's Tyler Owens, he named Bill as a guy that could be a big factor. He named Kane Madrano as another guy that could be lighting it up on special teams this year. So he's like, yo, it's a good mixture of veterans who get it, the young guys that have come in here. Like, he didn't even mention Kosin Yankoff, who they love on special teams. And he's like, it's a lot of us, bro. Like, our special teams unit gets down. We know this to be a fact. Like, I just remember Jeremy Reeves, that Cowboys game, the first one, I just remember how hard he took that loss. You would have thought that Jeremy Reeves fumbled at the 1-yard line on some Ernest Biner shit. I'm showing my age right now. On some Ernest Biner shit with an opportunity for us to go to the Super Bowl. You would have thought he was devastated because he was the guy that Kevontae Turpin did the spin move on and then took it to the house. And so he was like, yo, blame me. It's my fault. I think he was even crying after that game, bro. Like, he took that shit hard. He cares, bro. The guys in his locker room care. So he talked about that deeper core of special teams guys. He talked about his journey and seeing the evolution of the organization. And there are only a select few that you can even ask this question to and respect the answer. Because like Reeves said, and he did it so eloquently, he was like, bro, I've been here for 3 different names, 2 different ownership groups, 3 different coaching staffs. Like, I done seen it all, right? He was like, I'm one of the few that's been fortunate enough to have seen it all, done it all, and understand, like, what's going on. It's a guy like Tress Way been through 4 different staffs. He was here with Jay Gruden. Like, a lot of dudes can't even say that. You know what I mean? Hell, I think Revo was here for Gruden. Might have got the tail end of Gruden. So that's 3. It's 3. If you were here for Gruden, it's 3. It's Gruden, it was Ron, and now this group. So 3 is the number, right? So it's only Jeremy Reeves, Deron Payne, and Tress Way, I believe, and Terry McLaurin is 4 because he got here he was the rookie the year that Jay was here and got fired after week 5. So I think it's just those 4. I may be missing somebody, but I believe Those are the only 4 guys left on the roster with Jonathan Allen's departure that can say they've been here for all 3 staffs, for all 3 name changes, and both ownership changes. So he was like, I didn't see it all. You know, I was here at the darkest of dark times. I was here through, you know, this resurgence. I've seen the old, the bad, the good, the ugly. I've seen different uniforms. I've seen the building take, you know, shape. I've seen the building have a transformation. I've seen this fan base come to life. And he's like, it's remarkable that what they're doing. And he's just so happy to be a part of it. Because when you spend so much time in the shit that he was dealing with, that Deron was dealing with, that Tress was dealing with, that Terry was dealing with, and there's really no end in sight. It's just the same year after year of trying to psych yourself up that it's going to be different this year. Same shit, though. We used to do it as fans, so nobody knows that better than us. You know, it was funny. Derek B, shout out to my guy, Derek B. He sent me a comment under my Hall of Fame video because Kyle Allen, I said he's up to his Kyle Allen tricks. Can't change the tiger stripes. Still throwing the ball to the wrong color jersey. But back in 2020, Kyle Allen was our saving grace that year, or at least I thought he was. And Derek B reminded me. And sometimes you need these humbling moments. Not that I was running from this or anything, but he reminded me. He said, you remember when you said in 2020 that the competitive portion of our season was over because Kyle Allen got injured? Yes, I remember saying that. You're damn right. Because now Alex Smith had to play. And there was no way one-legged Alex Smith was going to come in and save our season. We already sucked ass in year 1 of Ron. There's no way he was going to come in here. When I said that, I think we were 2-7. What was I supposed to think when Kyle Allen got hurt in week 9 against what was it? I think it was week 9. It might have been, he got hurt for the first time, if I'm not mistaken, against the Rams. Then he got hurt. I think it was week 9 because I think the week 8 game was the Giants game. And he brought us back, but we lost, went for 2 and didn't get it. And then he got hurt in the week 9 game and we lost. Alex Smith came in and but we didn't win. And I think it was. I could be, whatever the case may be. I'm pretty sure it was the Rams game that he came in because that's the game Aaron Donald jumped on Alex Smith's back. And oh my God. And I remember saying, well, the competitive portion of this season's done. And who would have thought we would have won, 4 in a row, get to 6 and 7, and do the thing that we did, which is end up being 7 and 9 and winning the division that year. But Kyle Allen sucks, and it just reminded me of how down bad that Derek B was like, man, we were sad, basically. And I'm like, very, very destitute fan base at that time. Like, we were pathetic, and it just shows you how far we've come. And when you hear a guy like Jeremy Reeves speak about the transformation of the building and the organization and the fans and just the situation that the players themselves have gone through, just something as simple as the locker room and how much better that is and how much better the cafeteria is and how much better the meeting rooms are and how much better the weight room is and how much better everything is that they have to utilize within the building. How much better their family members are treated. It's no wonder that guys like Revo always have a smile on their face because he knows what the alternative is. He knows what it looks like when it's being done at an incompetent bottom feeder level, right? Bottom of the barrel level. He knows what that looks like when someone's doing the bare minimum. This ain't that. He talked about the game slowing down for him and last year coming back from injury. I forgot that he got, DQ kept bringing up Revo coming back from injury and how much faster he looks this year. And I'm like, who was clocking Revo's injury last year? I had totally forgot that 2023 was so forgettable on so many levels. You could have told me that our entire offensive line went down with an injury and it was all backups. By the time we got to week 12, 13, 14, I didn't give a shit. We could have been starting 5 funny lookings and I would have been no worse for the wear. At that point, we didn't care, bro. The only thing we cared about is, did we lose or not? That's all we cared about. We have to lose as many games as possible. Don't win anything at this point. Nothing. So Revo going down for the season, totally forgot that even happened. Totally forgot that he had major injury. I think it was his Achilles or his ACL. I think it was his Achilles. Totally forgot that there was an injury there, a significant one. So him coming back last year, he wasn't quite himself, but yet he was still All-Pro Revo. So he's like, I'm playing faster this year. The game's slowing down. He's like, last year I was coming back from injury. I was also trying to prove myself to another staff. He said, this year, everything's slowing down for me. I feel more comfortable as a defender. I feel like I can go out and contribute in that regard. Special teams, everything. He's like, I feel so much better this year than I did last year, which makes a ton of sense. He talked about Jaden and how Jaden stays the same no matter what. He's like, he's grounded. He's the same guy every day, no matter. He's like, this guy came in last year, changed the whole trajectory of this organization, and you wouldn't be able to tell by his demeanor. Same dude that he was as a rookie coming in day one. He is right now. And he's not, because we've seen him kicking guys out of huddles and taking more command of practice and being more vocal, which that's a byproduct of being 1 year more comfortable in your shoes and in the system and your standing within the locker room. But just from a humble standpoint, a humbleness and being one of the guys, he's the same dude. Same JD. He talked about DQ and why it's great to play for him and him being a leader of men. He just talked about them having a team full of guys that will lay it out on the line, do whatever is asked of them, and it starts with DQ. Right? He said DQ comes from, that player mentality, has that kind of lens that he's looking at the game from, which makes it a lot easier for guys to confide in him. He shoots players straight, which I remember once upon a time Mike Shanahan talking about with players is they don't want you to bullshit them. They want you to keep it a beam with them. And it was always a weird quote coming from him because Mike Shanahan would lie to us all the time. And I was like, are you just lying to us but telling the players the truth? Or are you lying to us and telling them the same shit you told us? Because if you're telling us this, then you got to be lying to them if you're telling them the same thing. Like, nobody believed Donovan McNabb couldn't. Maybe he couldn't, though. Maybe he couldn't cardiovascularly handle the 2-minute offense. But that was some bullshit. Nobody believed it then. I still don't believe it now. Right? So Mike Shanahan used to lie to us all the time. But maybe he was shooting the players straight. But that's one thing you never want to do is lie to players. You always want to keep it a beam with them. And Reeves says DQ is the best he's ever seen at that. Josh Conerly Jr. Let's talk about what he had to say. So he talked about how he's feeling after the first 2 weeks of camp. And he's like, I'm really, starting to settle in. It's taking him about 2 weeks, but he's like, I'm really starting to settle in. I'm starting to get a routine. I'm feeling a lot better. He said the pads are starting to come on now, so I'm adjusting to that. And so I like where his head is. He said, being able to learn from Hall of Famers potentially on both sides of the ball has made his job increasingly easier. He said, not many, rookie offensive linemen can come in and say, I'm going up against 2 potential Hall of Famers, which there's no potential with these two. These 2 are going for sure, and Bobby Wagner and Von Miller. And then you're working alongside one in Laramie Tunsil, which I beg to differ on him being a Hall of Famer. He's never been an all-pro, I don't believe. But that could change, and he could end up being, you start playing on teams that are competing and winning Super Bowls, your status changes within the league. If he's continuing to play at a high level, all of a sudden you'll see that all-pro total start to run up. Next thing you know, you look up, he's a 11-time Pro Bowler, 4-time All-Pro, and now we're talking about Hall of Fame accolades for Laremy Tunsil. Right now, it's just 5-time Pro Bowler. Shit could change in a very short amount of time here in Washington. If we start winning at the level we think we can, he continues to play at the level that we know he's capable of. Next thing you know, you look up 9-time Pro Bowler, 3-time All-Pro. That'll get you in the Hall of Fame. So, but he said, playing against two, playing alongside one, that helps expedite his process a ton. So he talked about a couple of things that stood out to me. Here was the first of those things. He said the speed of the game he was asked about adjusting to the speed of the game. And he said that that's something that he started working on in the offseason. And he thanks his teammates for helping him with that adjustment. He's still working on it. He's like, going up against guys like Von Miller really helped with that because of the juice that he comes off the edge with. Guys like Jacob Martin help with that because, again, guys that have a little bit of juice off the edge. But he talked about getting extra reps after practice. And he's like, I'll take those from anybody who's willing to do it, whether it's Cleveland Farrell, Dietrich Wise, Von Miller. It doesn't matter. If a guy's willing to give me some extra reps after practice, I want them all. That's the mentality you want from a young player, trying to get better, trying to get every single rep, take advantage of every single opportunity that he has to improve his game, right? And then he talked about the support he's gotten from the O-line room. He said from day one, they've been supportive. And we talked about Brandon Coleman literally calling this man as soon as he was drafted and said, hey, was in your shoes last year. Anything you need, hit me up. I can show you the ropes, tell you what to expect. Like, that's a class move from Brandon Coleman, knowing that this man was probably taking a spot that you were either going to be playing, which at that time, he was coming in to be our left tackle, taking Brandon Coleman's spot. But Coleman was still going to have a chance to move to right tackle. Then they trade for Laremy Tunsil. And now all of a sudden, or they might have already had traded for Laremy Tunsil. Can't remember where that happened in the time. I'm pretty sure they had already traded for Tunsil. So for this man to come in, you were going to get a chance to compete at right tackle. And now they draft this guy. You're not getting a chance at right tackle at all. You're now just strictly a guard. And to know this and still say, nah, I'm gonna show you the ropes. Whatever you need, hit me. That's dope. That's called selflessness. That's called being a great teammate. And he's like, I've had the support of my old line room since I got here. The guys have been incredible. They've helped me so much. And again, that's a part of that brotherhood that we talk about all the time with DQ. He talked about Laremy Tunsil's presence and what that has done for him and his game and him being able to lean on him, ask questions, learn from him, see how he takes care of his body, see how he goes about his regimen, throughout the week, weight training, et cetera, et cetera. He's like, that's been pretty big for him. So the next two things I'm going to talk about are things that I don't think fans think about enough when it comes to young players playing the offensive line, tackle particularly, and just how much goes into getting comfortable, getting settled to be the best version of yourself. Conerly was asked about his biggest adjustment as a player. And he said the first thing out of his mouth was morning practices, which I didn't think of this shit. I didn't think about the impact of practicing in the morning and how that would affect someone who is accustomed. First of all, he's a West Coast kid, has been his entire life. So his body clock is telling him at 8 in the morning when they're practicing this year, it's 5 o'clock West Coast time, which is what he was accustomed to living in Oregon. It's 5 o'clock, bro. And not only is it 5 o'clock, your ass is either supposed to be asleep or just getting out of bed, not getting prepared to practice, to run around, and to be physical, whether it's with a bag, whether with its an interaction with another human, another player, etc. Your body's still like, whoa, what the hell's going on here, bro? He's used to practicing in the afternoon. He said at Oregon, we never practice in the morning. He said, first of all, I love practicing in the morning because it's better on our bodies. You know, it's not as hot, it's not as humid, but I'm used to afternoon practices. So I'm still adjusting. He's like, I'm just getting into a routine with these morning practices. That's important. Something that I didn't think about. I didn't take that into consideration when we heard about him getting off the sluggish starts early in camp, and I talked about it. That's something I didn't take into consideration. Then the question was extended to personally, what are some of the biggest adjustments you've had to make? And he said, well, I'm from the West Coast and I'm a big family guy. So it's a lot easier for me to get in my car and drive 40 minutes to go see my family after practice or on the weekends than it is to hop on a flight and go 5 hours to see my family. And I'm a big family guy, so that's one change. But he's like, it's all good. I'm adjusting. You know, he said the biggest adjustment is going from the left side to the right side. He's like, I don't think people realize how big of a deal that is for an offensive lineman. And we just all assume, and I know I'm guilty of this, that he'll be able to do it. And I still believe that, which is why I've been adamant that he's going to be your starter week 1. Derek B, if you're listening, Dan Quinn basically said that he is a guy that they believe in and that they don't plan on doing the platooning thing. They'll see, but doesn't seem like something they're interested in doing. If they can get Josh Conerly Jr. up to speed, up to snuff on being ready to go at right tackle, that's the goal, and that's what they aim to do. They're not looking to do the whole platooning thing. So he was like, it's a lot that goes into switching from the left side to the right side. But I'm really starting to get comfortable doing that as well. So he's starting to get into that comfort zone. Welcome to the comfort zone. Starting to get into that comfort zone. And it's the opposite of everything. Your kick step is the opposite. Your punch is the opposite. You're mirroring all of your body's activities. It's easier to say it than to do it because that's muscle memory. Getting out of your stance, kicking, pushing off that right leg to get out of your stance, right? To get kicking, to open up, to then punch with your left hand. Now it's you kicking off your left foot to punch with your right foot. And it's a lot of, different things that your body was trained to do from the left side. Now you got to do it from the right side. Now you got to teach your body all over again. Strip it down and build it back up. That's tough. So it was pretty cool hearing him say that, because I think when you are making these adjustments and you're thinking, you're not just playing, he's thinking a lot. It slows you down. By the end of this process, my hope is that there's less thinking, more playing going on, and we see the best version of Josh Conerly Jr., and he's ready to help this team week 1 as our starting right tackle. We'll see. So he talked about having to grow up, like being a family-oriented guy, living on the West Coast, living in close proximity to them. He's like, in college, not that he was that guy, but he's like, your coaches, they tell you what to do. They keep you in line. He's like, they didn't have to do that for me necessarily, but these coaches, they give you your playbook. They give you, your space, and what you do with your time off, what you do with your extra time, that's on you. Like, ain't nobody here to coddle you. He's like, I had to grow up. I'm on my own now. I'm like, he was talking like a high school kid going off to college. But for him, this is the equivalent of that, because he was so close to home that he really never went away to college. He was so close to family. This is the first time he's been away from home for real. So that's a bit of an adjustment too. So again, interesting stuff from Conerly Jr. I'm so high on him, so confident that he's going to be ready to help this team as a starter week 1. I've already said 3 guys are starting week 1 out of this rookie class. He's one of those 3. By the end of the season, 4 of these guys will be starters. He'll be one of those 4. So he's a huge part of obviously this draft class being the first round pick. And I think he's going to be just fine when it's all said and done. So that is day 8 of training camp. Let's get to the comment section, and then I will get you guys out of here. Ben Jones, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Ben writes, hey, Louie T, just wanted to say thank you for everything you do, and I hope we look good on the 8th, which is my birthday. Happy born day in advance. I hope they look great as well. I won't be deterred if they don't, but I hope they look great as well. This first preseason game will be a lot different from last year's preseason opener, where we did see Jaden, where he did have the big hookup with De'Ami Brown on the first possession, where he did have a touchdown on the opening possession. It looked flawless. We went down the field, scored a touchdown. He was out, bing, bang, boom. We loved it. I don't think we ended up winning the game necessarily, but we didn't care because our, number 2 overall, rookie quarterback looked great in his debut. We're not going to see him this year, more likely than not. But we got other things to look forward to. I think everybody's chomping at the bit to see Bill out there on the field. You're going to see Ben Sinnott. You're going to see some of those second-year guys who didn't really get to have the impact that we would have liked to have seen them have. Like, we should see Johnny Newton in this game. We should see Ben Sinnott in this game. We should see Jordan McGee in this game. We're definitely seeing Dom Hampton in this game. We're going to see a lot of those guys. Javonte John Baptiste. We're going to see all those guys. So all those second-year guys that were draft picks last year that we didn't see enough of last year or had an impact, but we think they can have a bigger impact. We should see those guys in addition to the rookies, right? Wouldn't be shocked if you saw it. Matter of fact, I'm banking on seeing Josh Conerly Jr. He's not a starter yet. So he should be out there quite a bit in this game, right? At least a bare minimum of 2 possessions. Could easily play a quarter or 2 before they yank him out of the game. You're going to see I don't think you're going to see Trey Amos. That's the one rookie out of the class that I don't think you're going to see any of. I'd be shocked if he's out there at all. They feel so good about him. He's been so good. They're so high on him. He's a starter already. They're not putting the defensive starters on the field in this game. So, but you're going to see Jalen Lane out there on both special teams and in an offensive capacity. You're going to see Kane Madrano and plenty of them, and you're going to see Bill out there. So there's a lot to look forward to. And then there's some other guys, some of the undrafted guys that, we want to see. Ja'Cory Brooks is one of those guys you're dying to see. There's so many guys that we think can play that we were anxious to see what they look like. So I'm hoping they look good on your birthday as well, Ben. Happy born day, my guy. Silver Fox, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Silver Fox, writes, hey, Lou. What's up, Silver Fox? Says, question. I can't make it in person on the 24th. However, I'd like to donate $45 to tickets. So should I send another super chat for $45 or no? Here's what you do. There is a button on the link that you go down and you can donate. There's a bronze, a silver, and a gold tier of donation. Go there, click on that button, and just follow the prompt. And that'll allow you to make your donation. We really do appreciate you, even though you can't be there. And we're going to give you a shout out for your donation and give you some love, man, because we really appreciate any and everyone that helps contribute to the event on the 24th. And that's the perfect segue. I'm so glad that you tweeted that, you super chatted that, Silver Fox. And if you have any issues with that, please email me. LouieTeeNetwork@gmail.com. That's LouieTeeNetwork@gmail.com. If you've got any questions about how you can donate, Silver Fox, or anyone else out there that can't make it but wants to donate, and it doesn't matter how big or how small a donation you want to make, all of it is accepted and all of it is welcome. So we can't thank you enough. We've got a bronze, a silver, and a gold tier of donation. So please hit the link where you would go to buy tickets. That's in the description of this video. Hey, mods, if you're out there, drop that link in the comment section right now so people like Silver Fox can have access to it. Scroll all the way down and you'll see those tiers. Click on the one that you want to donate to and then follow the prompts Really do appreciate you, Silver Fox. August 24th, the day after the final preseason game, the Commanders Kings will be live and in color. Don't diss these men or we'll bum rush your mother. Listen what we saying. We for real. We not playing. The Kings will be live on the 24th. If you ain't a Commanders fan, hit your knees and start praying. So, Crystal City Sports Pub is where this will take place in Arlington, Virginia. Doors open at 5. We get kicked off shortly before 6. We're going to turn up. We're going to be talking about the 53-man roster. Will be the hottest topic at that time is who's going to make this roster. We would have had 3 preseason games, a bunch of joint practices. All we need to know will be there, and now we can make very educated, sound decisions on what we think is going to transpire with the 53-man roster. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the overall prospects of this season. We're going to go through each game. We're going to give predictions for those games. We're going to have a toast to the season. We're going to have fans and viewer participation, whether you're in the building, and most of it will come from those of you who are in attendance, and maybe some of you that are at home. We'll have a lot of fun. It's going to be great. As I've mentioned, I haven't met a lot of you in person. I met some of you through the watch parties last year, but I'm dying to meet the rest of you. The Kings are dying to meet a lot of you who they haven't met, whether it's at a practice or a game in person. They want to meet you guys. And then I haven't met them in person before. This will be the first time that we've interacted with each other on screen together in the same environment. We have tremendous on-screen chemistry, but that's been at 4 different locales. We're going to be all in the same place, having a great time with you. We want you to come out and support us. So August 24th, Crystal City Sports Pub, Arlington, Virginia. It's a Sunday. Come on out and enjoy the Commanders Kings in all of their splendor. We look forward to chopping it up with you. At last check, we are just under 60 tickets remaining. We're pushing towards 100 being sold. All right, these tickets are moving fast. By the time I look up at the end of today, we probably will have 100 tickets sold and be less than 50 tickets available. Only 150 tickets are being sold for this event. We want you to be a part of it. Tickets are $45. You know what to do. Get your tickets before they're all gone. And I think we're going to have some raffles. We're going to have some giveaways. This is going to be a blast. So what are you waiting on? Come on out. Be a part of this event. Bart Scott can't wait. So shout out to you, Silver Fox, for setting the stage for that. And again, if you got any questions about donating and anybody else has any questions, feel free to hit me up. I can answer those for you. But go to that link where you would buy the ticket, scroll all the way down. You'll see an area there where it says bronze, silver, and gold donation packages. Pick one. And we can't thank you enough for your support. Corwin Smith, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Corwin Smith writes, Lou, what's good? What's going on, Corwin? Says, this is an embarrassment of riches. We haven't had this much talent, this concentrated. The last time we were this good, 824, rise up. Last time we were this good, probably talent-wise, was 05. I think 05, because the talent didn't just exist on offense then, it was defensive too, if you think about it. In 05, you had Chris Cooley, you had Santana Moss, you had Clinton Portis on offense. You had Sean Taylor, LeVar Arrington, LaRon Landry, Sean Springs, Marcus Washington on defense. I mean, we were loaded, like from a talent perspective, we were loaded on defense specifically. Offensively, so we had Carlos Rogers too, who was pretty talented as well. Like we were really good defensively. And then you had some guys, you had, a guy at every level on offense in Portis, Cooley, and Moss. So there was talent. Another really talented group, but I don't think it was as talented defensively. All the talent really was on offense was the 2015 team. Deshaun, Pierre, Jordan Reed, Jamison Crowder. People love to, I don't think Alf was still here. People love to throw him in there. No, he wasn't a part of that. Like, even if he was on the team, which I don't think he was anyway. But that group, Kirk, Pierre, Deshaun, Jamison Crowder, Jordan Reed, Chris Thompson, really talented group. Trent Williams, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention him. And, Momo was on the other side, very underrated. Like, we had talent on that team, but all of it really was on the offensive side. We weren't good on defense. We didn't have any run game to speak of. So this is the most talent we've probably had since 05, I would say. And then obviously the thing that pushes this group over the top and makes it a no contest is Jaden. Because I just mentioned both of those squads, 05, 2015. It's crazy because every 10 years, right? 05, 2015, and now 2025 team. But I noticed I didn't mention the quarterback in either one of those situations. So, yeah, this team's talented. Like, we still got a long way to go, though. Like, I don't want you to confuse some of the young and old talent that we have for being one of the best rosters in football. We still got a ways to go. But this is a top half of the league roster, I believe. Now, barely. I don't think we're number 8 or 9. But again, if you have a weight system and like the quarterback position, weight is almost like test quizzes or like exam test quizzes, homework / classwork. Like, each of those are weighed differently. Homework, classwork might be 5%. Quizzes might be 10% of your grade. Tests might be 25% of your grade, and then exam might be half your grade, 50%. Well, the quarterback position might be 50% of the grade, and if it is, then yeah, we got a top 10 football team because we have a top 5 quarterback. But I've told you, I think this has a chance to be one of the best corner rooms in football. Our linebacking group is one of the best in football. And I think our offensive line, not there yet, obviously, but by season's end, we could be talking about one of the best offensive lines in football. So, yeah, we're coming along talent-wise. We're coming along. Safety position might be better and deeper than we think. We'll see. Running back room, I think it has some depth to it. We'll see how good it is. But this mixture of players, young and old, we have the oldest team in football. It's an interesting mix. But if you put this all together and we stay relatively healthy, this could be a dangerous team. It could be a very dangerous team. I wouldn't call it an embarrassment of riches. That's a bit extreme, Corwin. I would say we're continuing to build a bully. That's what we're doing. We're in the process of building a bully. And I'd say we're in the infant stages of that. But because you have Jaden Daniels, you're on the fast track. You're ahead of schedule, if that makes sense. Teams like the Ravens and the Eagles, and I'd say the Chiefs on offense, have an abundance and an embarrassment of riches. Maybe the Bills. I don't necessarily love their receiving core, but they got to pay James Cook, but they got more than enough to overcompensate for the fact that they don't have a true dynamic one at receiver. They got enough stuff at receiver, tons of talent at tight end and running back. They're loaded on the skill positions on offense, and then obviously the offensive line is good, and Josh Allen's one of the best quarterbacks in football. So, and the defense led the NFL in forced turnovers last year, I believe. plus minus. I think they led the league in plus minus last year, if I'm not mistaken. So there's that. We'll see. We'll see what Buffalo's all about, but we're not there yet. That's what I'm essentially trying to tell you. We're not there yet. But we're on our way. Anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man, Louie T, here on the Training Camp Confidential, day 8 of training camp. I look forward to chopping it up with you guys next time. I do not think they have practice tomorrow. Don't quote me on that. The schedule's getting a little funky here, but they will have joint practices Tuesday and Wednesday with New England, and then the game on Friday. So this should be a big week. Looking forward to it. Bart Scott. Can't wait. Until then, I'm your man, Louie T. Signing off. You know what to do. Post up. Take command. Until next time, you guys have a good one. Take care. Peace. Oh, got another super chat. This one is from Silver Fox once again. Double up. Thank you for doubling it up. Silver Fox writes, just did the gold tier donation. It was under my name of Ford, aka Silver Fox. Thanks, Lou. Really appreciate you, Silver Fox, man. Thank you so much for the support, man. Can't thank you enough. And we definitely gonna give you the shout out. And you didn't have to tell me it was under your name. I knew. Again, a lot of y'all, I keep tabs on y'all. I know who y'all are. Might not know your government, which is cool, but I can identify who you guys are based off of seeing your name, and I can put two and two together. So I appreciate that, man. Really appreciate the support. And we'll be talking more about donations and things of that nature as we get closer and closer to the event. But in any event, that's going to do it for me, your man, Louie T. You guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace. Thanks again, Silver Fox.